Netanyahu, he has said, despite the 4-day pause in fighting, despite the fact that some of the hostages have been released, this war is going to continue. And a number of international officials are calling for extensions to this ceasefire today, but can it and should it be extended? That's the big question. Let's get into this with our NewsNation newsmakers of the day. We have Mick Mulvaney, Dr. Lauren Wright, and Steve Krakauer. Okay, so this ceasefire is set to end later today. Mick, let me start with you on this one and just what's at stake here with extending versus not extending. You know, earlier this morning, we got that update from the Israeli government, 184 hostages still left. In your eyes, what should happen here?
Whatever contributes to the long-term stability of the region. I know that's sort of an amorphous answer, but everyone's focused right now on what's happening for the next 24 hours, which you have to do under the circumstances. But keep in mind, the bigger issue is what does this part of the world look like a month from now, 6 months from now, a year from now? The Israelis are simply not going to tolerate business as usual from before October 7th. So whether or not you get a ceasefire that goes a day or 2 or 3 or 4 more days, I don't think that's determinative here in what the real big issue is, which is what's going to happen a year from now. What is Israel going to do to secure its tranquility domestically beyond these next 24 hours or so? It's a tough call either way, but again, I think it's the minor issue, the micro issue, as opposed to the larger issues facing the region.
But it's unfathomable that they would allow for these hostages not to come home. I mean, I would not see a reality where Netanyahu wouldn't pursue at least some option where he could get all the rest of these 184 hostages freed from Hamas's grip. Steve, I'm going to ask you, in terms of the media spotlight on this, you know, seeing the barrage of missile strikes on Gaza, a lot of people had a strong response. To have this long of a pause in fighting, once they do get the hostages home, is the biggest issue how they'll be able to build back momentum and again invade Gaza.
Yeah, that is, you know, to Mick's point. I mean, what happens next is definitely going to become a big story here. You know, it's a nice story as each of these groups of hostages come. We know, you know, each day of 10 plus hostages that are released is another day of ceasefire, and that's great, and that's a good story to tell. But okay, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, even if that does continue, what happens next? And I do think that unfortunately, you know, this is not over. I mean, Israel's not going to be done until Hamas is no more. And so, yes, I think the media coverage will once again shift to the devastating war, but necessary war by Israel that's going to have to take place after it.
Yeah, and Lauren, just to kind of build off what Steve was just saying there are consequential choices to make here, you know, whether to extend or not. Obviously, everybody wants every single hostage back, but each day that you have a ceasefire, you delay the eradication of the Hamas terrorist group. So how should this be navigated?
Absolutely. There are real costs in addition to the benefits. And back to Mick's point, you know, there's really no permanent solution, no stability in the Middle East here until Hamas is eliminated. And as former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has articulated very clearly, a ceasefire of any length is a gift to Hamas because they have more time to build up public opinion against Israel, and it makes it easier for them to rearm and accomplish their goal of destroying Israel. And so, yes, the costs are tremendous here. And there's also the question of how trustworthy Hamas is and whether they will eventually release the 184 people hostages that they have left. There are a lot of doubts about that.
Yeah, especially the men and the soldiers that they still have in their custody. We'll be talking more about this. And again, of course, there are a lot of people who are concerned about all of the civilian life in Gaza and the humanitarian aid reaching people instead of the terrorist group. But let's talk about Nikki Haley. It's interesting how the optics of her chances of being second place have really changed. And there are actual talks about how she could be a viable candidate to beat Trump. But I mean, really, Mick, I'm going to start with you on this one. Yeah. Is this even feasible? As much money as donors are pouring into her campaign, considering how much she's trailing the clear frontrunner?
Well, those are the exact right questions to ask. Look, she's had a really good couple of weeks. She's had a really good candidacy. She's had a really good couple of debates. She's going to be featured next week in the debate here on NewsNation, and we expect her to do well there again. But she's still 40 points down in most of the early states. She's got a nearly impossible task, y'all. She has to be able to consolidate the anti-Trump voters and get some of the Trump voters to leave to come to her. Because if she only gets the anti-Trump voters, she might get 35 or 40% of the vote, which is still second place, which is still losing.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.